Bibliophiles Anonymous, episode 20. I'm Denise.
And I'm Jess.
And today we have a special guest.
Yes! Hello! My friend Holly is with us. She's, since we're discussing the Chicagoland Vampires books, and she's actually read those, she's going to play in our sandbox with us.
Yes, so welcome to the show.
And it's episode 20, dude.
I know. That didn't even really register until I was looking to see what number this was. 20 episodes. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I said that's almost half a year.
Yeah,
every week.
we did skip a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think maybe one or two, but not many. So
no, just two.
Yeah, so I think we're doing good. Yeah, because with the holidays, we skipped one of the holidays. That's right.
Yeah.
So, but still, I think we're doing good.
51. Great. Throw a party.
Well, you know, if Denise was actually in the same state with us, I'd be down with that party business.
Yeah. Well, that would work out better.
Well, we'll try and fix that at some point.
But you know, she's 6 hours away.
Well,
so.
yeah.
Complicates things.
Hey, I'm up for a road trip, so we'll make that happen at some point.
Hey, look, at some point I am coming up there because I'm going to Carolina Rebellion eventually.
And that's in Charlotte?
Yes.
See, Charlotte's only like an hour away, so that's totally doable.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, we'd have to stop by and say hi.
I would be very upset if you didn't.
Well, see, that's kind of how I was when we went to Oklahoma. I was like, if I don't go see Corwin and Jaden, they're going to track me down and kill me.
It's only, 2 hours out of the way? But what the heck?
Hey, look.
We were driving 11 anyway. 2 hours is nothing after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, today we're going to talk about the first 4 books in Chloe Neill's Chicagoland Vampires series. This is part of our 2-week celebration of the new book coming out, which we'll talk about next week. And we also have a little surprise for our listeners, which we'll talk about at the end of this episode. So something a little special. But before we get to talking about that, let's talk about what we're currently reading, if we're reading anything other than the Chicagoland series at the moment.
Yes, I started reading Beautiful Creatures by Kami Garcia and Margaret Stoll because the movie comes out on Valentine's Day.
Okay.
And I wanted to read it before the movie came out, even though I really don't know when I'll get to see the movie. But it's interesting because most books in that young adult fantasy genre, for some reason, have a female protagonist.
Right.
The story is told from the point of view of a female. This one is told from the point of view of a guy.
That's different.
That's weird to me because, from what I've seen of the book, and, because it's on my to-read list, and, I want to read it from what I've seen of it, and, watching the preview of the movie, you would think it was from her point of view, not the guy.
Yeah.
It's wait, why is he telling the story? It's about her, and it's all her
Yeah, it's one of those really weird...
Why is he telling the story?
It's one of those really weird things where it is about her, but it's told from his point of view.
Interesting.
It would be very odd to read, but I want to read it.
Yeah, it's really
sure.
good, though. I mean, it sucked me in, and part of it is it's set in South Carolina.
Okay.
But it's set in a small town where, you know, everybody knows everybody and everybody knows what everybody's doing, even if they shouldn't be.
Right.
Here. Yeah, exactly. I was like, I identify with this. So, yeah. I kind of know that feeling. But, yeah, it's pretty good. And I started reading The Hobbit, but I haven't actually read any of it because I got sucked into Beautiful Creatures. So, that's about it for me.
All right. Holly, what about you?
I'm trying to reread the Chicagoland Vampire ones because I'm trying to get caught up on them, and I started over at the beginning, so I'm almost done with book 1 again, and then I'm gonna read them all together instead of just picking up halfway through number 3 where I was the first time.
Yeah, you took my book to work with you and somebody stole it.
Vanished. Somebody stole it, so I didn't get to finish reading it.
No.
And I have the ebook, so I've been trying to read again because I got, lost track, and now I'm trying to get back to going with that.
Alrighty. Well, I've read 2 books over the past couple of days. I had finished book 4 in the Chicagoland Vampires series, and I didn't want to read any further until after we recorded, just so it wouldn't get all mixed up in my head. So after what happens at the end of book 4, though, I needed something a bit more lighthearted and happy. And
yeah.
So I had picked up, there was a special 1-day sale that I found out about on Twitter for this book. It's called Anna and the French Kiss by Stephanie Perkins. And she's another young adult author, and this isn't any kind of fantasy or anything like that, and it's strictly kind of like a romantic comedy kind of a deal. But I follow her on Twitter, and she had posted that there was this one-day sale where the Kindle edition was going to be $2.
Oh, well, you can't pass that
And I
up.
said, okay, I'll take one. And so it's been sitting on my Kindle for a while now, and I've been trying to read through Chicagoland as quick as I could to get ready. But once I got to after book 4, I'm like, I just need something that is fun and cute, and that fit the bill. It's about this girl who is sent to. Remember we had talked about a while ago that there's been a lot of books about kids going away to like a boarding school. That's like a thing, and sometimes it's a magical one. In this case, it's not. Yeah, but she gets sent to. She's an American girl, but she gets sent to a boarding school in Paris, and it's because her father has basically become this sort of Nicholas Sparks-esque kind of author who's gotten a lot of success and movie deals, and it's kind of turned him into kind of an idiot, or he's really kind of pretentious now, and so he thinks that in order to impress all of his uppity New York friends, he needs to send his child abroad. So that's what he does, and at first she really hates it, but then she meets all these friends and meets this boy and thinks that he's...
There's always boys.
Yeah, and thinks that he's really cute and sweet, but he also has a girlfriend, so that's kind of a complication. But it's really cute, and the characters are really fun, and she hates it there at first, but then she really comes to appreciate it and enjoy it. And plus, it's in Paris. I would love to go visit Paris someday, and just reading about it's just fun.
Yeah. That would be cool.
So it was really good, and it was a much needed respite from all of the serious stuff happening in Chicagoland.
Yeah, the end of that 4th book is a doozy, and I cracked up when you finished it and sent me that message on Facebook. I was like,
what did I say?
I don't remember exactly what
I believe
you said.
I said in all caps, "Holy Mother of God."
Yeah, I texted Holly. I was like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure Denise just finished book 4 of the Chicagoland Vampires."
Yeah,
oh gosh, I was message. I was like, oh, that, yeah.
Yeah, you responded and you said, "Finished book 4, didn't you?"
I was reading it at work, and I got one of the girls at work. She was like, I need something to read, and I was like, well, here. She just sent me these. I sent them to her, and she started reading it on her phone also. And she got to book 4. She's like, I'm not reading anymore. I give up. I quit. I'm so mad right now. And I'm like, just keep reading. According to Jessica, it gets better. I know, but just keep reading it. But she won't. She will not read them anymore. She got there and she stopped and she says, no more.
Aw. Well,
she needs to finish them.
Yeah, I'm gonna finish them. I want to know where it goes from here, because she broke one of the rules.
Yes.
You're not supposed to do what she did, and she did it.
Nope.
So I have to find out how she fixes this, because this isn't right.
Look, book 5 and 6 so far, 5, 6, and 7 have been the best in the series. So, yeah, she definitely needs to finish reading them, because I had another friend that read them, and when she finished book 4, and she was like, I don't even know if I want to continue. Is it worth reading? I was like, yes, keep reading. Trust me, keep reading.
Well, see, that's just it, because you can tell just the way that she's crafted them, that what happened at the end of book 4 that we're not going to tell anybody, because that would be a major spoiler, and so y'all are just going to have to read it and find out yourself. But that she didn't just willy-nilly decide, oh, we're just going to throw that in there to mix things up. These books are very well crafted, so there's a reason, that it's going somewhere, and even if it really makes you angry.
Thing with that one, it's like, what are you trying to pull here? You're up to something.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
But there has to be a reason, because she's good at what she does. So,
that's really something. You're not going to just be like, let's do this just to see what everybody's reaction is, because they're all going to kill you.
Well, that's also true.
There's no reason for it.
Well, yeah, I mean, when I finished book 4, I think I jumped on Facebook and said, not cool, Chloe Neill. Not cool at all.
I remember that.
Because it was just like, you can't do that. But she did. But like I said, she does fix it, so it's okay.
Yeah, well, see, I love it, and at the same time I hate it when authors do that, when they break these so-called rules. I mean, the same thing happened with me after I finished reading Feed by Mira Grant, which I know I've talked about a lot of times on this podcast, and I'm sure I will talk about it many times further, because that book still just completely freaked me out. Because, again, she broke one of the rules, one of the tried and true rules, things you do not do, she did it. And then at the end of the second book in the series, it's just like, whoa, okay, now you just broke another rule. I mean, did you not see the rules?
Apparently not.
Did you not?
They didn't get the memo that says you must follow these rules while writing your series.
Did you not realize this? No. But at the same time, if an author can do that and do it well, then that just, makes the whole book series all that more compelling, because you know that they're not afraid to take risks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, at first I was kind of worried that when Chloe Neill fixed this problem that it was going to be cheap, but it actually ends up working out quite well.
So you kind of scared me when you said the problem gets fixed. I'm like, how do you fix that? Is she just going to be like, oh, never mind, change my mind. We're going to put this back and just, like, leave it under. I'm like,
no.
I'm curious to see how that ends up being fixed, because I haven't made it that far yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was afraid because,
like, are we pulling soap opera?
I watched, all of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and part of Angel and Supernatural, and on these shows, stuff like that happens, and when they fix those problems, sometimes it cheapens what happened.
Right.
You're like, well, that's not even realistic. You can't do that.
Right.
Yeah.
But Chloe Neill makes it work. So,
well,
it was good.
Well, let's go ahead and back up some, because we're talking about a book we're going to talk about next week.
We're going to talk about 1 through 4. Let's start with 4.
So let's start at the beginning. And for anybody who hasn't read these books, again, we're not going to give away too much, because some of the things we're going to talk about are fairly obvious. Did either one of you, when you read the first book, have any doubt that Merritt and Ethan were going to end up together at some point? No. That's just expected. So that's not a spoiler. Now, what happens at the end of book 4, that's a spoiler. We're not going to talk about that. But there are obviously going to be a couple of other little spoilers here and there. But let's just start off with the beginning of book 1, with Merritt and what happens with her. Jess, why don't you start, since you were the first one who read these?
Merritt was a student in Chicago. She's 26, 27, something like that.
I think it was right before her 28th birthday, I think.
Yeah, she's a grad student, and she was walking across the campus one night, and she's attacked and turned into a vampire against her will. And you find out that that's a big no-no, because the way the Vampire Society is structured, you have to petition to become a vampire. You have to want to be.
Right, they don't just do it willy-nilly.
Yeah, but now you're kind of bunching together. She gets attacked by one thing, and then in order to save her life, somebody else. Yeah. Ethan comes along, and he can't save her because she's too close to dying, so he turns her into a vampire as a way to try to save her and keep her from being a victim to this other.
Yeah.
It's not like somebody just says, I'm going to have to kill you, and then, no, wait, let's just make you a vampire instead.
Right.
Yeah, Ethan does it to save her, which Merritt doesn't see it that way. Merritt is very offended by what Ethan did, and that causes a lot of problems with her and Ethan. But you have to petition to become a vampire, and they do this ceremony every year where they invest the novitiates into their house. And Merritt's just all sorts of pissed off about it, to put it lightly.
Yeah.
So she goes and confronts Ethan.
Which is something you just do not do in this vampire community.
Yeah,
you do not challenge your leader at all.
Okay, yeah. See, the vampires are set up in a house system. There's a house where vampires live, and you have a master for each house. And Ethan Sullivan is the master vampire for Cadogan House. We're just going to assume that's how it's pronounced, because I don't really know.
Yeah, that works.
And he's the master vampire, and only master vampires have last names. So when you become a vampire, you pick a name, and that's all you get. She confronts Ethan and challenges him, and they actually, like, duke it out, and she almost kicks his butt, She's just that awesome.
Which just trips him completely out. Like, what is with this girl?
Yeah.
There's something with her. I have to keep my eye on this.
Yeah, you shouldn't be able to do that.
You know then she's going to be something, like, pretty awesome because she's not supposed to be able to do
Right.
that.
But, I love the fact that we get detailed descriptions of what Ethan Sullivan looks like.
Over and over
Yeah.
again.
I'm okay with that because he's pretty. At least
Yeah.
in my head.
Yeah. The mental image of that is not a...
I mean, he's tall, he has shoulder-length blonde hair and these bright, piercing green eyes, and I'm just like, I can work with that.
Like, pictures? I need pictures.
Well,
But yeah,
Especially when we get to describing him and during the fight and,
yeah.
I'm like, this book needs pictures
Yeah.
right now.
I'll
It would
take
make-
2 of those.
well, the other thing that's neat about this world, I thought, is that the vampires had been kind of living in hiding, but right before Merritt was attacked, the 3 masters of the 3 houses in Chicago basically held a press conference and came out. And
Yeah, that was mostly at Selena's urging,
Selena.
and I don't like her.
I hate Selena.
well,
I didn't like her at all from the beginning. From the first time that we saw her, I did not like her at all.
she just always seemed really, really smug and really.
Yeah.
And you can understand
Love
why,
herself.
but then you find out more about her, and she's a piece of work, is what she is.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. And I love Merritt's best friend.
Mallory.
I want a Mallory.
Perfect.
I want a Mallory. I want to
too.
have a friend.
I have a Mallory.
Hey.
Holly is my Mallory.
You can shoot blue sparks from your fingertips. That's awesome.
I'm cool like that. I'm telling you.
Well, she doesn't have blue hair. It's quite red at the moment, actually.
It's a little too red. I did that yesterday, and part of it got a little too much.
But, yeah. But see, from the first time I read this book, Merritt, a lot of the stuff she says and does reminds me a lot of the way I would react. And Mallory reminds me a lot of Holly, so, it works.
That's one reason she's like, you have to read this book. Oh my god, it's about us. I was like, okay.
Except, Holly's actually the vampire in this friendship.
Well, they got him backwards.
No, really, she's allergic to sunlight.
I say.
So she's the
Cursed.
vampire.
But anyway,
But
the
yeah.
thing that was cool is that when Merritt becomes a vampire, she's not close to her family or her parents, but she is close to her grandfather, and she finds out something very interesting about her grandfather. That not only does he know all about, the vampires and stuff, but he knows that there are other supernatural beings out there, including shapeshifters and sorcerers. And he just happens to be, he's an ex-cop, but he happens to be basically the government liaison person.
And I want to just say, I love her grandfather. I want him to adopt me. I want him as my grandpa.
He's
I want him.
awesome. He is,
He's the best parental figure ever.
yes, I would agree with that. He's awesome. But you learn that there's a man in his office named Catcher, and once Merritt gets to know Catcher, they find out that Mallory just happens to have some magic that she didn't realize.
Yes.
Poor thing.
Yeah, Catcher's pretty awesome, too. And, in my dream movie cast,
Jensen Ackles.
Jensen Ackles is playing Catcher.
Definitely. Like, that's when I'm reading him in my mind, that's all I can picture is Jensen, and I'm just like, they still need to make a movie of this just so he can play this part and I can watch it. Can you imagine him pulling Catcher and doing the swords and things? I'm just like,
Yeah.
I would be a puddle in the floor. Just,
Yeah. See, it would be worth it just to see that.
just for that scene. And then, whoever they cast as Ethan's going to be pretty to look at, too. So, I'm all for it.
And then, I love Jeff. He's so sweet.
I love Jeff too. Now he's a shifter.
I love Jeff.
And
Yeah.
I will just go ahead and tell you both. You do get to eventually find out what he shifts into.
Oh, good.
Yay!
Oh, good.
No.
Not till book 7, but
Oh,
you do
crap.
find out.
I want to know what he is.
Yeah, because that's the thing
You find out.
that's the thing that was weird, because we usually, when you talk about shifters, and especially some sort of shifter that's, an enemy of the vampires, you automatically think werewolves. But
Yeah.
they're not all the same animal. Like, you
No.
find out, I think you only really find out a couple of people, and some of them are wolves, but the one guy was like a puma or some kind of a big cat, which I thought was actually kind of awesome, because if you're going to have like a animal shape-shifting power, you might as well have more than one different kind of thing, and I would prefer to be a cat anyway.
But yeah, you eventually, they make a big deal about not knowing what Jeff shifts into. Merritt mentions it several times in the story that, she wonders what Jeff shifts into, and he won't tell her.
Yeah. It's a very personal thing. Not everybody knows, especially not vampires, because even though they are kind of working towards not forming an allegiance necessarily, but at least being
civil to one another.
Not as enemy as they used to be.
Yeah.
To tolerate each other.
Yeah. You have you find out a lot more about them through Gabriel and his family and the pack. I really love Gabriel, by the way.
Okay,
Please don't tell me he turns evil, because that would make me cry.
No. Gabriel is awesome. You get more of the pack and pack dynamics in the later books too.
Because we got a little bit of that, but
I'm just starting to get Gabriel a little bit in what I've read. I haven't got a lot on him.
But yeah, he doesn't turn bad. Okay. Gabriel stays good. He's around in book 7, and he's helping out and stuff. So.
Okay, good.
Actually, they do something very, very, very important in the later books. So.
Cool. Well, after we finish recording, I can actually read the next book. I'm so excited.
Yeah. But and of course, when Mallory and Catcher meet, it's like instant attraction.
Yeah, like that is no spoiler. Like the second they meet, you're like, well, that's gonna happen.
And it does.
It doesn't take very long.
Almost instantaneously.
At first, Mallory really has a chip on her shoulder about Ethan, or as she likes to call him, Darth Sullivan.
That made me giggle every time she did that.
Yes, I love that. And okay, I have to take this opportunity to say one of my favorite scenes in the first book is when Mallory is dating that dude whose name I don't even remember. And he comes over and brings Chinese food, and it's right after Merritt's been changed. And she's like, "Did you bring the crab rangoon?" And the boyfriend's like, "What do vampires need with crab rangoon?" And she eats one and like makes this sound, and Mallory looks at her and says, "Orgasms, apparently." It cracked me up. I was just like,
I cackled at that one. I thought it was hilarious.
Well, see, that was one of the things I liked best about these books, is that they're dealing with, especially in the later books, they're dealing with some very serious things. You have some vampires that are trying to cause some problems, and even though they've shown themselves and are trying to make nice with all the humans and prove that they're not a threat to humans, you have all these vampires that are working against that, one of them being Selena. And, although with what happened with the governor, I'm not entirely sure exactly how much in control she is anymore. Because that was just weird.
Yeah. She's got a lot more.
But that's in a later book, so we're not going to worry about that yet.
Yeah.
I'll worry about that later. But, so you have a whole bunch of serious things that are going on where people are disappearing, and some of them, they're getting all these threats, and rumors are coming up that vampires are having these parties where it basically turns into, a mass killing of humans.
Yeah,
because,
the raves.
Yeah, the raves. Yeah. And, but then at the same time, you have this streak of snarky humor running through the entire thing, even with the serious stuff that's going on. And that's one of the things that I really, really loved about these books, because even though you have to deal with some really serious stuff, you still maintain that sense of humor.
Yeah. I love it. The 7th book, if you look before the story actually starts, on one page it says, "Death waits for no vampire," and then it says, it attributes that quote to Ethan Sullivan. And right below that it says, "I like bacon," and it attributes that to Merritt. And I was like, that there says more about the difference between Ethan and Merritt than anything else possibly could.
One is this big grandiose statement about life and death, and the other one's like, bacon is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and I love that. That's one of the things when Ethan and Merritt finally do, decide to give this whole relationship thing a shot, and she starts introducing him to the food in Chicago. And he gives her hell about the way she eats, because he's like, this greasy junk food that she's always eating. He's like, he's all about, trying to eat healthy and everything, but she makes a point that, she has a vampire's metabolism. It's not like she's going to gain weight from it.
I would choose to become a vampire just to get the vampire metabolism.
Yes.
I was going to say, I wish I had a vampire metabolism.
That would be awesome.
Definitely.
I don't even have to be promised an Ethan Sullivan. Just give me the metabolism.
Yeah. Well, you become a vampire, you automatically become more glamorous and more vibrant, and you get this awesome metabolism. I'm like, sign me up.
Yeah.
Right.
For it. I have the bad parts of the vampire without any of the benefits.
But
it's not fair.
Like,
if I'm gonna be stuck with this, why don't you give me the good part of it?
When they do the ceremony to invest the novitiates, Ethan kind of throws a wrench in Merritt's world, because he names her Sentinel of the House, which is a very old position that's not really used much anymore. It's kind of like a guard, but kind of not. She's supposed she can even pull weight against Ethan if the house is ever in danger.
Right. It's like a guard, but more than that.
Yeah. The guards of the house guard the vampires. She actually guards, like, the brand, the house, the public relations, and things of that nature. And she, like, falls over when Ethan does this, and everybody else kind of freaks out, too. But, he did it mostly because when she challenged him, she almost beat him.
Yeah.
She came closer to being able to touch him than any other vampire could.
And that was her as a brand new vampire.
Yeah, with no training and nothing, and she could almost beat a master vampire, It was kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
And then there was that whole thing with Morgan, Selena's second from Navarre House. I liked Morgan when he was first introduced, but he sort of has that whole whiny teenager thing going on.
See, I thought I was really going to like Morgan, and then I'm just like, dude.
See, I'm going to disagree with you here. I actually liked Morgan, and I thought that Merritt treated him horribly. Because he really seemed to genuinely like her, and sure, she was not, at the time, really doing anything with Ethan, and she was working, and obviously there was some attraction there, but she was having to spend a lot of time with him. And yeah, Morgan got jealous, and he did have some suspicions, but Merritt even said to her several times, she said, I don't know why I'm doing this, because I don't think I really have feelings for him, but she just kind of let him on. And
yeah, I was really, rooting for that, because I was, I really wanted Merritt and him to get together, and, actually, but it's like, she did him wrong. The way she was with him, you could tell he was liking her, and she was just kind of like, yeah, I'm just going to go with it just because it's something to do.
Yeah, it's because, here's this vampire.
What it seemed like to me.
Well, yeah, here's this vampire who's really, really nice, and he's really, really pretty, and he seems interested in me, so let's take a shot at it. But she was never really invested in it. She never really liked him that way. And so, yeah, he had a chip on his shoulder, and then the whole thing, once Selena started behaving badly, it was understandable that he felt really mixed loyalties, because she was the vampire who turned him, and he had served her for years. Centuries.
See, I just don't think we can lay all the blame at Merritt's feet because of Ethan and forcing her to go out with him.
Well, no.
Yeah,
I'm all for blaming Ethan, because even though he's pretty, I think most of the time, until they finally actually got together, and then a little bit afterwards, but I thought he was a jerk for a good portion of the time.
Well, yeah, he was. See, this is another reason why you really need to keep reading, because there's some stuff that happens in later books after they fix that problem. Yeah, there's some attitude adjustment that happens. So,
but I will say this as far as Ethan's concerned, and something that really made me happy about these books is because okay, he and Merritt get together for a while, and then there's an incident, and he comes to this realization that his feelings for Merritt make him not follow through with his responsibilities as master of Cadogan House, that it puts that loyalty in jeopardy or something. So he breaks it off with her, and she's of course heartbroken, as you would be if Ethan Sullivan dumped you.
Yeah.
But then he has a change of heart, and he was like, I think I was wrong. I really care about you and all this other stuff. I was so happy that she didn't just say okay and jump back into his arms. That she maintained that distance, because what he did was wrong. I understand why he did it, but it was still wrong. And just coming back and saying, I was wrong, I'm sorry, does not mean that everything's okay again. That made me so happy. I felt like saying, actually, I think I posted this on my blog or on Facebook or somewhere. I felt like saying, Bella Swan, are you paying attention?
You told me that.
This is how you respond when your vampire boyfriend treats you like dirt. That's how you act. You don't just say, oh, okay, everything's fine again, I love you. No. You maintain distance because he needs to be taught a lesson, not just that everything's okay again. That just made me happy. And I'm like, this is such a much better character. I'm so happy with that.
That did kind of irritate me at Ethan, but at the same time, I wanted to slap him silly when he said this whole, it interferes with my duties as master of this house. I was like, you're a freaking moron. You don't sacrifice your own happiness for something like that.
Yeah.
I was like, you can make it work.
Probably one of those things where, like, it's kind of, he's a man, and you know how they react to that thing. They get scared, and they're like, oh, no, gotta run away from this. And that was, like, his excuse to...
That was his easy out.
Yeah, that's his easy out. It's like, this is scaring me. I gotta run. Oh, wait, I have an excuse. Yeah, it's the house's fault. Bye. Can you tell we have issues with men? Sorry, it's kind of coming through, ain't it?
It has. But, yeah,
not speaking from personal experience at all here.
No, not at all. When I found these books, it was right after Some Girls Bite came out. I found it on Amazon, and I had just got the Kindle app on my PC where I could read books on there, and I downloaded the preview of it, and I was like, well, this is when, you couldn't go into a bookstore without throwing a rock and hitting 50 books about vampires. It was right after the whole Twilight boom, and vampires were the thing to do, apparently. And I was like, I need to try this one and see if it's any good, because some of them just weren't.
No, some of them were crap.
So I downloaded the preview and read like the first 2 chapters, and I was like, oh my god, I have to have this book now. So I ordered it from Amazon, and I've pretty much gotten every one of them because they were just that good. I mean, it's no Twilight by any means.
No.
These vampires don't sparkle.
And thank goodness for that.
Oh, God, yes. Vampires should not be sparkling.
No.
Vampires are not supposed to, no. It's just no.
Which this is a completely different series of books here, but I have not read the books, but I love the TV show Vampire Diaries. And one of the episodes, one of the vampires, Damon, is sitting there reading a Twilight book. And the girl asked him, like, he's talking about how stupid that vampire story is, because it's nothing like real vampires, and the girl is saying, she's like compelled and acting like a complete moron because she has no clue what she's doing. And she's like, why don't you sparkle like that? He's like, because this is the real world where vampires die in the sunlight.
Yeah, I liked the fact that these vampires can't go in the sun either. That's an issue, because that's the way vampires were supposed to be.
Yeah, that's how they're supposed to be. You don't change that.
No, you don't say, oh, they don't go in the sunlight because they just don't want to, because they don't want people to see them sparkle.
No, like they go in the sun, they die. That has to be there. That's part of the big vampire deal.
Yeah, they have to be able to. They have to avoid the sun. They have to drink the blood. And as they keep saying in these books, I mean, they are predators.
Yeah.
Natural predators, and just because they're getting all of their blood from Blood for You, which I found hilarious every time I read it.
Yeah.
That doesn't change the fact that naturally they're fighting their instincts not to go after humans, which is why when in the later couple books, when they had that drug that was showing up, the V, which is what it was called, we all had the letter V engraved on it. It was like a little pill. It was bringing out their more vampiric nature, and that was part of what was causing the problem, because they were getting aggressive and getting out of control, and nobody could tell who was behind it. I mean, they had suspicions that Selena was behind it, but then you find out she wasn't the only one, and that it wasn't, they thought maybe it was all in one house, but it was all spread out throughout the houses, because they were finding it in all of their, like, each one has kind of a hangout, and Cadogan House has the Temple Bar, and it was there, it was over at all of the other two hangouts, so they couldn't pin it in one place. It seemed like it was everywhere. But
can I just say, I love the way Merritt handled the situation when the fight broke out at Temple Bar.
Yes.
And she, set the bucket down and said, I'm going to turn around. If any of you have any V, put it in this bucket, and I won't give your names to Ethan. You won't be punished individually. She handled that well.
Yes.
And I like Scott, the master of Grey House.
Can I just say that I love the fact that Grey House is basically full of a bunch of sports fanatics?
Yes.
I think that's hilarious.
Yeah. Scott, in every house has something to, like, Cadogan House has their Cadogan medals to identify them. Mm-hmm. Their necklaces that they wear. In Grey House, they all wear baseball jerseys. That's what they have instead of medals. They wear baseball jerseys. That just, and I think it's good to have the houses be very distinctive like that.
Yeah.
And very different.
Yeah. And different in the way that their internal politics are.
Yeah, because each master, there is a big governing council, kind of a worldwide governing council, and the initials are GP, but I can't remember what they stand for right now.
The Greenwich Presidium.
Yes.
And they're a bunch of fools.
Yes, they are. The head guy shows up, and he is a jerk. But I love the fact that even though they do have this governing thing, within each house, the master is kind of free to govern it however they see fit. And it varies with each master. And it can even vary when in the same house when a new master takes over, because I'm pretty sure that when Selena's arrested and removed from her house and Morgan takes over, I'm sure that life in Navarre House was very different when she was gone and he was there.
And can I just say, for anybody who doesn't know, when you read these, Morgan, when he takes over as master of Navarre House, his full name is Morgan Greer. That is a tarot deck.
Yes.
That Holly and I both own, actually.
And as soon as we say the name, it was like, that's hilarious. I absolutely love it.
Morgan Greer is a tarot deck that is very similar to the standard tarot deck that everybody sees, except it looks like a hippie deck. Everybody on it looks like they're from the 70s.
Like some major 70s drawings going on there.
So
we call it the hippie deck because like everybody on it looks like a dirty hippie.
So I just find it amusing that his name was Morgan Greer, and I'm pretty sure Chloe Neill did that on purpose.
I'm sure. But besides, it sounds cool.
Yeah.
It works.
But, Merritt, especially when she starts training with Catcher and he starts teaching her how to fight and she gets her sword, and this is why she is on my list of, badass female heroines,
Oh, she's definitely
She has some very strong opinions, and she's not afraid to share them.
Right.
Yeah. She's a much better lead female character than, like you said, somebody like Bella, who just sits around and whines all day.
Yes.
Like, she's much more, it's like, okay, I like her because she gets in there and she does it, and, like, she doesn't sit
more
around
like
and mope. Me. Like, I'm like, yes, I would, like, get out there and do it, and don't be, like, whining all day, and, oh, boo-hoo, I got turned into a vampire, and I'm going to sit here and pout for 6 months, and... Like,
Yeah.
she goes to Ethan, and she challenges him, and she fights him, and it's like, okay, this girl ain't scared. You know.
And she
gonna
breaks up with
Do
Ethan.
her own thing.
She still, stands up and does her job as sentinel of the house, even though that requires her working closely with Ethan.
Yeah.
She doesn't just whine about it.
She's a very strong person, and she's very confident in herself without being cocky and overbearing. Even though she's in vampire terms very young. I mean, she's only been a vampire for a few months, whereas a lot of them have been vampires for centuries. But she's wise beyond her years, but at the same time she's still very down to earth and very real. And they keep saying several times it's because she still holds on to her humanity, even though she's not human anymore. And
Yeah.
there's some...
And that's like a big deal to her, like when she starts talking about the vampire, like it's a different part. Like she talks like she's got like a different person inside of her, like not letting the vampire control her.
Mhm.
She's trying so hard to still be her and not let this new part of her control everything.
Yeah, like it's separate.
Yeah.
And she has some issues with that, and she has to learn to reconcile those two parts of herself.
Yeah.
Which she does. I mean, she works at it really, really hard. And she is given a lot of responsibility when she's named as Sentinel, but like you said, she doesn't... Well, she does a little bit of complaining, but that's to be expected. But she still takes care of business.
Yeah. And was it in these books that Ethan names her house Social Chair as a punishment? And makes her start planning, vampire mixers.
That made me laugh.
Was just fun.
That was mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so not her, like, at all.
And then, we have to talk about the mayor.
Do we? Really?
Seth Tate.
Ugh.
Yes, he's
We have to?
quite slimy and...
Slimy doesn't even begin to cover it.
honey.
Oh my god. I can't even say it. It's just...
Like, honestly, I cannot even think of a human character in that book that I can even stand other than, because her grandpa doesn't really count, because he's something spiffy. And then, you've got, like, the magic people. But as far as, like, the human people, like, the mayor and her family and the D-bag that she was dating before that's in all this, and I'm like, I do not like any of you people. Just stick with the vampires, because I don't like any of the humans.
Well, see, here's the thing. Mayor Tate, not exactly human.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right, and we don't find that out until, like, the very end of book 4, do we?
Right. It's sometime in book 4, but you don't even know the half of it, let me just tell you. Y'all need to get... You're going to start reading book 5 tonight,
Yes.
I know. You got to hurry up and get there, because...
I do. I really do.
Because let me just tell you...
You'll know when I do. I'm like, oh my god.
I think it's book 5. No, book 6. I think it's book 6 that you really find out the whole thing about Seth Tate.
Oh,
And
God.
exactly what's going on there. Because it's not what you think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, now I'm nervous.
It works out, but it's not what you think.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Well, that's something to
But,
look
yeah.
forward to for next week, I guess.
he's very slimy, and he's kind of, I don't know, he seems sort of, he has a thing for Merritt for some reason.
Yeah, I've noticed
But-
that.
And then you also find out that her dad is an even bigger tool than you thought he was.
How is that possible?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. How?
Oh, you do.
Ugh. Okay.
And also, you do eventually find out what Merritt's first name is.
Well, didn't we already find that out in these?
It might have been in book 4.
Isn't it Caroline?
Yes.
Okay. She was,
Yeah, you find that.
and she was named after her sister who died or something?
Yeah, which is kind of creepy
Yeah.
and weird. And if I were her, I wouldn't go by that name either.
No, that would just be weird and disturbing to me.
And plus,
Oh, we
seems
had
more like a
a-
married anyway.
Yeah, we had
Yeah.
a daughter, and her name was Caroline, and she died. So we had you to replace her, and we gave you the same name.
Ew.
And,
We can just pretend like you're her and you're not really your own person. You're just a replacement for her.
Ew.
and it's just like,
Oh,
Ew.
creepy.
Ew.
Weirdness.
I'm like, that's just weird and creepy. Let's not do that.
Yeah, I know somebody who's actually done that.
That's just weird.
I don't know if the kid died or not, but like I knew this girl, and she had a daughter, and the kid's name, because I worked with her at Hardee's when I was in nursing school, and she had a daughter named Olivia. Well, then several years later, I'm at work. The girl shows up where I'm working, and I'm like taking care of her after she's had her baby, and I go in there and I'm like seeing, and I see her kid, and I look at the name on it, and the kid's name is Olivia, and I'm like, Shirley has one of those. What? I'm confused. Why would you do this? This is weird.
See, actually, I had a cousin that did that. He got married, and they had a little girl, and they named her Harley. His last name was Davidson.
Oh, so why would you do that to a kid?
Anyway, they split up. She got custody of the kid and moved off. So when he got married again and had another kid, he named it Harley again.
Oh.
I've already done that once. Again. Like, I don't know. I didn't ask her. I wanted to ask this girl, like, why, you already have a daughter by this name. Why do you name another one that? But I didn't want to, like, find out the details. Like, I wondered if, like, she didn't have the kid anymore. Like, somehow she lost the kid. Somebody else had her or something. And she just, like, the name wanted to have another one by that name. But I just thought it was weird to name more than one child by the same name.
Yes, but you don't do
they're
that.
They're trying to be George Foreman.
Yeah, well, all of his kids are named George Foreman.
Yeah.
That's just weird. I can understand having, George Foreman Jr.
and then letting him have George Foreman III. But for all of your kids, no, that's just, don't, no.
Well, what happens when you're in there and you just say, hey, George?
Say George, and everyone comes.
Yeah, what?
Yeah. But yeah, it
makes it easy when you get in trouble. I didn't do it, George did. Well, which one? I don't know. Blame George.
But yeah, I mean, that was just kind of strange and odd, and I understand why she has such a horrible relationship with her parents if they expected her to be a replacement for her dead sister.
That's just creepy.
She's so much unlike the rest of her family, and I don't know about this other sister, but if she was anything like the rest of them, then I'm sure Merritt was just like this huge disappointment to them. And
well, I think Caroline died when she was like 2 or something. So
yeah.
Before Merritt was ever born.
So we don't know if she would have been like Merritt or would have been like the rest of them.
Yeah. Which, Merritt's actual sister isn't that bad. I mean, she does have an okay relationship with her.
Yeah.
It's not great. But yeah, it's hard for me because I have read all the other books and I want to be like, this is what happens. This is why you find out her dad is such a tool. But I can't say that because I don't remember what book you find that out in. And I'm pretty sure it's in book 5 or 6. Maybe in book 6.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
but yeah.
Well, when we discuss the other books next week, I think we're probably going to open up some of the spoilers for the first 4 that we're trying to avoid now. We'll talk about them because we're giving you guys a week to go and read the first 4 books. And then
and they're really not that hard to read.
No, they're not huge books at all. I mean, I have you had sent me the ARC for book 7. Thank you, by the way. And
yes.
It's 300.
Did you get her surprise with that, by the way?
Yes, she got surprised.
Welcome. Yeah, that came from me.
We have Holly to thank for those.
Yeah, it's 330 something pages. So, and they're all about the same size. So that's doable, and they read really fast. So
yeah, and I have the first 6, right? I can read all but the 7th.
Yeah. And we can, get, if we ask nicely, she might send it back. So
I'm going to send it back. Trust me, I'm going to read these fast. I don't think.
Well, yeah, she's read the first 4 in a week and a half?
Less than that.
Yeah. If I could actually, we just sit down and read it. It would go a lot faster, but it's just.
Yes.
When I try to read, I usually, most of the time I'm reading at work, and every time I start to read, I have to get up and go do something, and.
She gets distracted.
And I get distracted, and I end up not reading very much at all. And
well, FYI, when we go to McKay, we're looking for book 3, and you're going to get it for me if they have it, because you still owe it to me.
Okay.
I looked. I was going to get it when I was up there, but they didn't have it.
Maybe they'll have it, and I can buy it for you, and you can have it back.
Yes, because there's a gap on my shelf, and I don't have book 3. And you know that kind of stuff annoys you, too, so don't.
Yeah, I know. It's not my fault, though. It's not like I lost the book. Somebody stole it. I think somebody, just got mad because they had found the book or something and threw it in the garbage or something. Like, who would steal random book 3? It's like, not like you're going to take it and read it. You don't know anything that's going on in this series, and who's going to look at it? I mean, I think they just was being mean and threw it in the garbage because they could.
Possibly.
Because people I work with are just, possibly do that.
But anyway.
Well, so yeah, next week we're going to have free reign on spoilers for books 1 through 4. We'll just agree to that. And then try and hold off on any like big, major, huge spoilers at the end of like 5, 6, and 7. When we get there.
Well, we kind of have to reveal the big spoiler at the end of book 4 if we're going to talk about the rest of them.
Yeah, otherwise what we said probably wouldn't make sense.
Right.
Yeah, especially the whole fixing the problem issue.
Yes.
I'm still curious about that.
Yeah, well, like I said, it actually is better than you think it's going to be, because I was worried. I was really worried when I got to the end of that, and I was like, I'm scared now. Because, I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm kind of genre savvy. I read and watch a lot of stuff like this. That's, vampires and the supernatural stuff, and you worry. When you see how this has been done in the past, you worry.
Right.
And she actually did it really, really well. So I was okay with it. It worked.
Okay.
But I fell in love with these books. They're awesome. I love
They're really
them.
good. I am enjoying them a lot so far.
I will have to try and get caught up.
Yes. And like I said, I'm with you. I like that they have that snarky humor, even when they're dealing with,
That's the part of it that it reminds me of, especially like us.
Even when, the world is ending, that Merritt can still crack a joke.
Yeah.
She's still snarky, she's still a smartass, and that's me. I mean, I am a smartass. I will not deny that. Kind of proud of it. But, it helps. And that's why, some books, like, I read a lot of forensic thriller type stuff too. And even with that, I like for there to be some kind of humor in there, something to keep the mood, light, so that it's not all doom and gloom and serious.
Right.
Kind of that comic or something.
And that's like the difference between Patricia Cornwell. Hers are very serious. There's not a lot of funny stuff in them. And like J.D. Robb, the Eve Dallas books, they're sort of a similar type genre, but in the J.D. Robb books, there's still that snarky humor because, that's how Eve is. So, I mean, I enjoy that a series can do that. That it doesn't take itself too seriously.
Right.
Yeah, I can't do the too serious one. They get boring to me, and it's just like, you have that little bit of something to look forward to, I guess, kind of, and maybe with it, and it's just not the same flat kind of same old thing through the whole entire thing, and it's just...
it gets depressing if it can't make you laugh.
Yeah.
Apparently Ozzy wanted to say hi.
My dog wants to join the conversation.
Actually, I think he just wants out of the bedroom. But yeah, they're really good.
Yes.
And ow! I'm glad that somebody besides me is reading them. It makes sense.
Well, hopefully we can get a whole lot of people reading them. And this is going to lead up very nicely to the announcement that I have. In celebration of the new book coming out, we decided, well, actually, I came up with the idea, and then I said, Jess, should we do this? And she was like, sure. So, we are going to do a giveaway, because we want other people to read these and fall in love with them just like we did. So, we are doing a giveaway of the first book in the series, Some Girls Bite. And if you would like to enter, there's a couple different ways that we're going to do it. We want to make it easy so that whoever wants to enter can do it. You can either send us an email, and our email address is bibliophiles.podcast@gmail.com. And all you have to do is write down in the subject line, Chicago. And then you can put whatever you want in the body of the email. You can say, hi, my name is so-and-so, I like your show, whatever. But just
a mailing address might not be a bad idea in case you win.
True. Well, and I was going to say if we contact them and they can send us their mailing information. But That's up to you. If you want to send it to us ahead of time, you can, or if you don't, then we'll contact you. But you can send us an email and put Chicago in the subject line of the email. You can also enter on Twitter. If you tweet at us, and we're at Bibanon Podcast, and just tweet at us the word Chicago, then you'll also be entered in the drawing. And then you can also go to our official website, which is at www.bibliophiles-anonymous.com, and leave a comment on the post for this episode and just say Chicago. That's the magic word, is Chicago. So
Yes.
on one of those three places, we'll take all of the responses that we get and put them in a hat or something and pull one out. And then next week, when we review the rest of the books, we will announce the winner.
Yes,
You'll get,
so you can get a free book. Free books are always
yes,
good.
and it'll be the first book in the series, so you can jump right into it and get to know Merritt and Mallory and Ethan and Ketcher and Morgan and all the rest. So,
Yes.
because we really enjoyed them, and we think you will too.
That should pretty much do us for this episode.
I think so. So, Holly, it was great having you here. You need to come back and do this with us again.
Actually, I'm trying to talk Jessica into reading a book that I read not long ago. I told her it would be a really good one to do like a discussion with. I'm trying to talk her into reading it, and if I can get her to do that, then we'll have to get you to read it. We can do one on that, because that'll make for a very interesting discussion.
Okay.
Is that
Yeah.
Before I Wake, or no?
If I Stay.
If I Stay. Yeah, that one.
Well, I'm always up for getting new books, so.
It's called If I Stay by Gail Freeman. You need to check that one out, and if you read it, let us know. We need to do a discussion on that, because there's just all kind of stuff in there that's just like you can be very opinionated about and have a good old talk about it.
Sounds good to me. Well, I will look into that, and then both of us can put pressure on Jess to read it.
There we go.
So there. We're going to team up against you. Sorry.
Well, I'm used to it.
But anyway, so yeah, I think that's going to do it for the show today. If you want to send us any feedback or topic suggestions or book recommendations, you can do so at any of the, contact information that I gave for the giveaway. Email bibliophiles.podcast@gmail.com, on Twitter @bibanonpodcast, or at our official website at www.bibliophiles-anonymous.com. And when is it going to be? On the 15th, we'll actually open up the Tavern Book Club discussion thread for Some Girls Bite, because that is the Book of the Month club over at the Tavern. It usually starts on the 15th, but since we got the ARC, we wanted to do it a little bit early. So we will start talking about these there, and that web address is www.maltavern.com.
And I will actually reread Some Girls Bite before I start, so that I will know what I can and
Where
cannot
it
say.
stops.
Yeah, know where it stops. I should probably, at least browse through it again.
All right.
And we will see you all next time.
Yes, we will. Bye.
Bye.